as lawmakers head back to work at the Capitol and policy gets started in committees. We spoke with legislators and advocates about what they say needs to be addressed this session. Connecticut has really had a problem keeping and enticing young people, specifically Gen Z and millennials. You as a young lawmaker yourself, and one who sits on the committees that really matter to these residents, what sort of conversations do you want to hear this session around keeping young people here?
So I appreciate you saying that. This building often ages people quite a bit. We could have done more to help working and middle-class families make ends meet.
How does the legislature make things more affordable while still having those fiscal guardrails in place? What's that balance there?
Well, I think budgets are about priorities.
Here in Connecticut, a vote that never happened. Controversial regulations that would gradually ban gas cars in the state withdrawn. What the electric vehicle infrastructure would take in the state, who should bear the costs, and what comes next.
Reductions across the board would have to be enacted, and it would really hurt our students and our communities.
Could that mean possible tuition hikes as well for students?
Unfortunately, we can't take that option off the table.
What are you asking from them at the Capitol?
So we actually asking for, we want them to understand our struggle. We serve into the community, and I want them to understand that we need higher pay.
It's tough, and it's getting tougher.
We've also seen the state mostly stay out of local zoning. How will the Connecticut 2035 program change that, and do you believe it needs to in terms of the state having an involvement?
2035 is what we think the state is going to look like, could look like, but that is locally driven.
Will the Connecticut 2035 be different? Is there going to be some sort of enforcement there to get these municipalities to give the state these plans?
It's more about incentives. I mean, we've got significant resources. We'll follow your lead, but you've got to take the lead.
And Speaker, you were obviously part of conversations to not reopen the budget, to not make any formal budget adjustments this year. Tell me a little bit about what led to that decision, and now that the session's over, if you still think that was the right choice.
It was the right choice because we didn't have to change anything from our biennium budget. We didn't have to change our spending package or our revenue package. The tax cuts we enacted stayed. The earned income tax credits at its highest level of all time.
Connecticut has a short session every other year, as I said, and I know both of you were proud of many things that were able to get through, but obviously a lot didn't. For each of you, I'll start with Senator Harding. I know this is a big question, but do you think the part-time legislature is effective? We've been talking to the entire delegation about this the past couple months, but to onlookers and constituents, it seems really like there's a blockade right now with both parties not getting anywhere with each other, specifically in the House. We've watched shutdown showdowns, a speaker meltdown. I've spoken with you about that, and just so many points of confusion and really partisanship here. So from your perspective, what has this been like, and do you see this changing? The 2023 primary is fast approaching on September 12th. So let's talk about all you need to know as a voter. Pull out your calendar. These are the days to remember. September 7th is the last chance to apply on the online portal or by mailing in an application. Ahead of the election in Connecticut, what are you telling other young people in encouraging them to maybe vote this way or just vote in general?
The main thing that I want to say is that your voice matters.
Big news coming Sunday as you were at an event, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis dropping out of the race, and you had asked him just days before if his campaign was sustainable. So tell me about that. How did that all go down, and what was that like to experience? Did you ever imagine you'd be taking on a case like this to disqualify a former president from election, as you say, for, quote, lighting the fire of an insurrection? Ahead of inauguration, both Mayor Luke Bronin and Hartford's next mayor, Arunan Arulampalam, will be here with us. A very special episode of The Real Story this morning as we talk about Hartford's past, present, and future with its leaders. You've also solicited support, though, from across the state, not just here in Hartford. And, you say everyone should have a stake in what goes on in the capital city, but some people have criticized you for trying to garner that support or raise money in other parts of the state. Any response to that? It's very clear that Hartford, does want better. So what does a better Hartford look like for you?
Well, I'll start with my street and my neighborhood. I'm raising 5 young kids in the city, and the kind of neighborhood that I hope they grow up in is one in which they feel safe.